Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular public meeting on June the 8th, 2020. First of all, it's a pleasure to see my colleagues back around the table. Obviously, we are seated in such a way that we respect the distanciation rules around this big hall. Without delay, I ask you for the opening words. Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The meeting is called to order. Confirmation of a quorum from the clerk. Any conflict of interest? Does anyone want to declare a conflict of interest on any items on the agenda? None? So, adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Arsenault, that we adopt the agenda as presented. Any questions? None? Those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. So, it is carried. We'll proceed immediately with item 7.1, inquiries for the RCMP. I don't think we have anyone from the RCMP with us tonight. However, if you have any complaints, you may share them with the administrator and we will send it to the RCMP. I know that a complaint we receive often. I know I receive it, or I receive them, and you must receive them also. It's the noise made by the cars. And there's the speed, but also the noise made by cars. I don't have to say any more. That being said, we will continue to share the message. And those who have specific operations, especially questions that have to do with speed, it's a discussion that we should have in private sooner or later, privately with them. That being said, next item, 7.2, presentation. What we call the new normal for leisures for the summer season. And we have Miss Pauline Cormier with us tonight to make a presentation on this issue. Good evening, welcome to the virtual council. Thank you. Share the screen. Speak louder, maybe, please. Can you hear me? Yes, go ahead. Good. So that being said, as it was said, there's a new leisure since mid-March, and we want to tell you what is happening with us. Let's proceed immediately. Connected leisures. Connected leisures, or hooked up. Connected leisures, we were able to keep the contact with the community by offering them a virtual program. The Facebook page here for them, it gave the opportunity to the people to exchange, to be able to play or to have leisures virtually. So our three objectives, if you wish, one was to keep a link with our sponsors. I'll talk later on about that. Also, to support our local businesses by organizing contests. And they gave some gifts, so the businesses were happy with that. I hope you've heard about it. Some people have said that they would talk to the councillors about it, so we wanted to support them. And the other one, while doing that, was to support the guideline, the director from the public health in all their programs. So whatever changed for them was changing for us also. We implemented an employee committee, and we had 3 activities per week. in the connected leisures before the festival starts. And we noticed today we have 481 members that are subscribed to our Facebook page on Connected Leisures. In June, what we want to reduce to 2 activities per week. The gardens will be started. The bicycles, people play outside more. So in June, we have 2 instead of 3. In August, we'll have 1 activity because some people will play every week. I'll give you details later on. In September, until the pandemic is completed, we will offer this connected leisures. We have the commitment of our citizens. Some people have started to help us. It's something we want to develop as we go along with the people from the city. So the partnership with our organization, partnership with some festivals in the fall, I will give you an implementation in the last 2 or 3 weeks on the festivals that will be this fall. We will determine what is happening in 2020 with the connected leisures. So the program, the restriction, we have to follow public health restrictions. We won't go against them, goes without saying. So the revision of our activities will be done on a monthly basis. The changes, the director from public health, and we are watching it very closely to make sure that we are able to follow it. We made the list of activities that are canceled from May the 1st to September the 15th. We had races, Ville tour, the bicycle tour. We were fortunately unable to have them. Community gardens, park, Rotary Park, Julien Street. We were unable to have these. Julien Street, it was a citizen that was responsible to organize it, and we didn't want to give him to be responsible of people because he was in the private. And the Rotary Park, there was nobody. We couldn't really ask our people. We couldn't do it there because the distance was unable to be guaranteed. The distance for the people. Well, what we did, we organized the gardens at the Rotary Park at Dulcim. We have 27 appointments for the swimming pool. It's 50 persons unless we made a schedule with them. There is a pair day and an odd day, even and uneven. People are listening very carefully, and we had Julien would come, and some people from Rotary Park came with us, but they help us with the aquatic center. Just so that you know, the aquatic center, we had 33 last year. There's only 6 subscription less than last year. The citizens who are attending are very happy. There was one who did not follow the schedule properly. We reached him. We went to see him directly at the garden. We explained to him. He understood the situation, so he continued to respect the rules. So we had no problems. Everything is going fine. They thank us for having done that. They really thought there would be no garden, but there was one. The people are happy, really happy at the end of it all. Let's continue. The collection zone, well, the Parbu is part of the collection zone. There won't be any zone for this summer. The fireworks for this year have to be canceled also. So we can only have 50 people or less. We were an imaginary festival. Is another one. We were unable to have the country concert that will be held later on. And then United Way with the Irving family. We were unable to have them. We had several discussions with them. It's unable to have it this year, and it was postponed. Everything was postponed. I'll explain later on. So these are the activities that we had to cancel for 2020, for this year. there's no question, I'll continue. So garden, we have 27 now, the community garden. 27 is going very well. And Canada Day, we will have a virtual programming that will be held on our page, National for the Canada Day. It will start in the morning. It will go until the afternoon at different time. We will have a show, a virtual show for the children. Savvy Simon is an ambassador who will make a 5 to 10 minute speech. I thank the federal government because they respected the donation that we asked for, and they look at our program, and nevertheless, we will be able to have our subsidy from the federal government. We're very happy as far as that goes. McAlady Show. It's a virtual program. We hired Kevin McIntyre and Josh Beliveau. They will animate, moderate, and record 8 shows. But how will they do it? Kevin McIntyre has a Westphalia van, and he has all the logistic in it to organize shows like that, if you wish. So he can move around. And they said, aren't you afraid? He said, no. Each week they will record an artist at home. They will go in different places in the province. One artist will play for 1 hour. It will be pre-recorded and is off July the 8th every Wednesday until August the 15th. We'll have a show on Wednesday, and the people can go and get him tonight. I don't feel like going. Well, they can go on radio. It'll be recorded. The people can go and get it and record and broadcast it. It will be broadcast on radio, so the people who want to have a McAlady Show, they can have it anytime they wish. And the artists, the unveiling of the artists will be next week. Was supposed to be tonight, but the contracts are not signed, so we can't make it known immediately. A comment that we received from one of our artists, I thought it was very good. He said, I want you to know that the city of Dieppe is well seen by the artists, because he said, I had a contract for this summer, and he said, you are the one that will honor our contract. So he was very happy, and we were happy also for his comments made about Dieppe. Mrs. Cormier, could you speak louder and slower, because several members are complaining that we don't hear you well. Speak louder and slower. Slow down a little bit, please. Take a breather. Take a breather. Do you hear me? Yes? Not too fast. Do you want me to start over again? McAlady Show? No, it's not necessary. We have the material in front of us. It's just to make sure everybody understands. So that's it. For the sponsorship, McAlady Show, you were asking, we didn't know we would have a sponsor. We have one sponsor to confirm from last year. They all supported us, so we want to thank them also for the subsidies. So it's very, very good, and to have sponsors this year. And a lot of people are following on Facebook. So since we had 1604 in McAlady Show, we were able to hold it to keep all our sponsors with us. Let's continue. No questions so far. July, well, the Imaginary Festival. We talked with the organist, and we tried to have a circus, I should say, that would play with us. And the week that the festival would have been held, we could have this with the circus. So that's continue. We are developing this as much as we can. The circus, imaginary. New-Brunswick Holiday, we have a program for that. We are talking about it now for the program for New-Brunswick Holiday. So we want to organize something to see where the people want to go for their summer holiday. The province is asking us to support our own province. So these are kind of activities that we have in mind we want to organize where people can visit their own province. For August the 15th. August the 15th will be a virtual concert. I can't reveal the names tonight because the contract have yet to be signed, but the people will be very happy. We will certainly have a contest, a home decoration. We won't have Tantamar because of the issue of distance and whatnot, but there will be other activities that will be added for August the 15th. And in Dieppe, August the 15th, I don't know if you know, but the national holiday, Radio Canada was there. Some of the people will be organizing the by CBC or Radio Canada. The veterans ceremony, we're talking with them immediately. What they will do is the ceremony of August 16th. It will be held at 1604, place 1604. There will be a military veteran and a consulate from France. We're talking with them to help them to have everything done virtually. It's probably the organist with which we are most involved. We want to support them, and we find it's very important for them to make sure that they have a place within our program. We're talking with them. The country concert that was planned with YQM for August the 28th was postponed till 2021, August the 28th next year. So we have started to talk in order to sign a contract with them. The concert will be held next year, home in Dieppe. Our students, well, we are calling on the students if need be, but I don't think we'll need them. We have them all. We contacted them all. They understood the situation, but if ever there should be something where we need them, they will be available for us. But until now, they don't foresee that we will need them. The Dwellon House programming, the opening of the house, we hope to have it in the fall. Everything is going very well. There's inside work to be done, but Betty and his group are working on it, and with the new programs. So it's really interesting what they're doing, and they're purchasing everything that is needed for the house, the living room. It's going very well. There we'll have to hire 4 students for the fall. We'll offer it to our students who were unable to work with us this summer, unfortunately. They will have the first offer, the first refusal offer. Well, we can't wait to see those projects completed. Before we go to questions and comments, there's 3 other things I want to mention since I sent the presentation, if it's okay with you. The graduation at Martin, 287 graduates are forthcoming, and we talk about something, a lot of work, and jointly with them. Unfortunately, we can't have it at Tamar, but what we will do is U of M offered that Mathieu Martin comes to the house free of charge. They will be with the mascot, and they will be with U of M. And U of M will be with the people this week, this coming week, to have them on the radio for the 21st June the 21st would have been graduation day, and also to receive the diploma on June the 17th. They're trying to organize something else. It's nice to see the city is involved, is doing something, and also we think University of Moncton to do it freely. I mean, first you said that it was really hard to cancel the festival, but when they heard that less than 50 persons and less than 50% involve those who are working inside and whatnot, the workers, it was not worthwhile to organize it. Unfortunately, they canceled it last Friday. The Francofed will be held from November the 3rd to the 6th. Is the 24th anniversary, 24th year. Next year will be the 25th. I hope will be okay by then. The employees are at the Wingate during the Francofed this year. The opening will be live on Facebook. They are discussing what they will do for the closing, pre-recording, artists, Acadian groups. Everything will be done at the beginning of September. It will all be done at the Art Center in Dieppe. Interviews in Dieppe will be done at the Wingate Hotel. These are the 3 points I wanted to add. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead. Questions? Mrs. Taboutier. Congratulations for the mutual virtual initiative that will be undertaken this year. It's going to be interesting. I'm checking something here. Sorry, I'll come back to the question. 3 main questions. Do we know the percentage of our citizens that we estimate that don't have the internet service? Do we have any idea on the number of citizens? I can answer in part. Dieppe was one of the 2 most connected city in New Brunswick. That was a few years ago. I would say that we are very connected for a city, but to have the exact figures, I don't know. We were considered as one of the 2 cities the most connected in New Brunswick. It brings me to this. It concerns me a little bit. I wish we would look at those citizens to see, well, with youth or with activities that are not virtual, if you wish, to try and innovate, to create activities as we see elsewhere. I've seen in other areas, it's interesting. Some people are more spoiled with Cinepark or whatnot. People stay in the cars and they're allowed to be more than 50 and with cars, and we did it a few years ago. But I wish we would once again we would turn towards Mr. Bélanger, who talked on the importance of that sector of the society and how much they felt lonely or felt alone. I wish we would pay attention to them if we can. The other thing, I've received so many questions lately, and I'm sure you've had a debate, was the connection zone. My question is, the business that was there, the Barbu, was it them that did not want to participate? Because when we are seated with table at a distance, there's so many places that are open now. I was wondering if it could have been created, and the business has that responsibility to coordinate the whole thing. I don't know. Mrs. Cormier, I don't know if we receive a formal, we've had that there's been discussions, but at first what happened that the Barbu had some kind of a success. It's completely the whole connection zone. When we took the decision that the connection zone would not operate 2020, in the summer of 2020, we decided to cancel everything, including the agreement we had with them. So all the activities from the connection zone were suspended, canceled for the summer 2020. because of the famous question of 50 or less. We didn't have any control, how to control 50 people. That included the people who are there to work, services, and so on and so forth. It was impossible to control the people. Maybe I can add for the cinema, open air cinema, we can do it for more than 1 hour. So the Cinepark that you see is not for municipality, it's private. We were unable to organize it, but we did think about it, we did discuss it. It could be good for the citizen, it could be, but it would last more than 1 hour, and we weren't able to do it. Thank you, Your Worship. Similar to Councillor Leboutillier, I want to congratulate you, Mrs. Cormier, for your presentation. We innovate, like a school innovate also. It's important that everybody should participate here. I like it. My question is, it's two facets. Number one, it's not everybody that has internet. It's not everybody that's on Facebook. When we have a virtual program, I hope we'll be able to offer it on the city's website and not only Facebook. There's a lot of way electronically that we can broadcast without being on Facebook. It's very good. I know. Congratulations to the artists. We want to see them, but there are other medium we can use. Hope, Mrs. Cormier, that we can use something else. And surely, I like the idea that we can see them several times. A Good Friday night, we can have a rerun the Mercredi show. That's superb. For our seniors, I want to repeat what Councillor Leboutillier said. We have nursing homes. It can be done in the parking lot. Play some music. It's being done. Music, our artists are good communicators, and it's something that is important for us. And it's really, really emblematic, the spirit of Dieppe. That's why we invest so much in the art center. Mrs. Cormier, take my suggestion. Let's make sure not only Facebook, but the website that is fully used. We have a beautiful website. The Department of Communication paid for it fully, and see what we can do for our seniors. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you. Mr. Barido. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to come back with a comment that Mrs. Leboutillier just made also. Mrs. Cormier, the Tatamar of August 15, I understand we won't have it this year, but could you have considered to have a Tatamar by car, or people would have been invited to decorate their car or make some noise? The noise, we know what noise is in the city of Dieppe. We could do it for one day, Your Worship? No? Well, I'm asking the question, Mr. Cormier. It could have been an activity that could have been well organized, and I think the people would have really gone for it. We can have grouping, and we don't know if the people will leave the cars, and it's a question of no more than 50 people, and that's one thing we cancel. It's not the only thing, but I mean, if everything's changed before August, we'll do it. We wanted to do it. Maybe there's other ways to do it, but of course, Tatabar is one thing that we have very close to the heart. Mr. Thibodeau? Thank you, Your Worship. Pauline, you talk about the community garden, and we were unable to make the one at the Rotary Park. We did it at the Aquatic Center by assuring distanciation and having even date and odd. Why couldn't we do the same thing by having scheduled odd day and uneven. At Rotary, the boxes are too close. There would only been 3 and only 6 persons were interested in attending. So we said, okay, let's have it at the Aquatic Center. And 2 of the 6 came with us, and there was not a big request because of the distance. There was the whole question of cleaning the fence and the door on the fence. Unfortunately, it was unable, but all those who wanted to have a garden were able to have it at the Aquatic Center. It's a lack of interest, that's what you're saying. Yes. Thank you. If there's no one else, I want to thank you for your presentation and have a good evening. Thank you. Next item, presentation update from COVID-19 with one of our sub-chief, Macomia. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening to the staff. I don't have a formal presentation on PowerPoint. I want to give you our update from the last time we met. As of today, the COVID, we're at 146 with 24 active. With the announcement of this afternoon, 9 cases, additional cases were added in Region 5 in the Hamilton, Dalhousie area. 9 cases since the beginning, the highest number that was announced in one day. Today, as I said the last time, at level 1, there's an emergency measures, the work that we are doing presently. First of all, the members of the team went back in their respective sector. So personally, I keep doing communication with New-Brunswick, with the city of Moncton and Riverview, to have a consistent situation, and if we have need, we meet on a continuous basis. Also, we meet twice a week with the emergency measures organization of the municipalities, and we discuss the different challenges that exist in different municipalities. We act according to announcements that are made in the morning. Their virtual press conference. We adjust our aims, and we're sharing the plan from the city. We would have liked to share it with you before. The document is one that was changing every day, if not every hour, with the decision by the province and the different guidelines that were issued by public health. So, also, we are reviewing and approving the plans from different organizations. Until now, we have changed the plans for different groups. 16, the Dieppe market, the youth house, and so on and so forth. We receive some everyday requests. We've heard that the plans are submitted by these organizations. They are following the public health guidelines, and we coordinate, we finalize the return of the students with the different groups. In the preparation of workplace, we have different places to make sure that there's a security for the employees. Our 110 municipals are the employees from public health and installation are back at 100%. And we hired 20 students for the public health and installation sector, and as my colleague told you just before me, the virtual programming for the leisure sector was done. So also, we implemented a list of actions, working offices to make sure that we are in conformity with the safe work in New Brunswick. We've been working on it for weeks and months. Things are changing from day to day. We adapt ourselves, and we want to guarantee the safety of everyone. And personally, in my role, I review the guidelines with the public work to make sure that there's a conformity with the city, and we make sure there's a mask, disinfectant, plastic signalization, and different things like that. Collectively, and the emergency measures, we are a contact with our organizations and a tenant, and we follow them in our plan to make sure that they follow everything normally. If you have any questions, that's all I have as far as an update is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Question from the members of council, Mr. Alla. Yes, Your Worship. Mr. Cormier, Mr. Legier. Two questions. The first one, is there a new start plan? Will the arenas open this summer? Secondly, in the monthly report of May that was sent out, there's a section that reserve of general operation, the cost of $230. Could we have an explanation what happened there? What is happening with 230? Mark, do you want me to go? I can talk about the new start plan. Presently, we are developing an operation plan for the arenas. There's two things. The participants who will participate in different activities in the arena to have their own plan. We have started to receive and revise it, and the city of Dieppe, if a group was to have activities, will need a plan. But for the present time, no activities are planned, organized by the city. But there's only the groups that will use it. These groups will have to present their plan. For the question of 230 is the cost of the COVID, Mr. Terrio, that's part of all the expenses that we've had to implement elements, the mask, detergent, disinfecting, and that's what we need according to public health. And the costs go up. Pepsi glass in different places, protection at the reception, and these are elements that are used. Other questions from the councillors? I don't see any other lights. Thank you, Mr. Cormier, for your presentation. It's much appreciated. We'll now go on with item 8, question from the public. Mr. Rino Savoy, I believe. Mr. Savoy, good evening. And first of all, I would like to apologize for the misunderstanding at our last meeting. I heard afterwards that there was a misunderstanding between myself and the administrator. So please discuss your challenge, if you would. Thank you. The problem of second reading was done last meeting. The projects that are proposing at the Amero Street, Dieppe, the only thing that I would like to discuss, I was proposing a garage, 1,700 square feet, and the reason I wanted to know concerning the garage, part of the garage would be for the storage of construction material, brick and different material. There will be Some roofing will be stores, material for the floors, and when some repairs are to be done, the products are discontinued. As an example, if you want to do a kitchen, the material is discontinued, you almost have to remove everything in the kitchen to put new material, so it's more expensive. So part of the garage would have been for storage purpose and for the future if there was things to be fixed. Secondly, I bought a tractor for snow removal and to work for the neighbors, and also for lawn maintenance, and also in the future some people will move in that subdivision. I want to keep that project. I've done several projects in Moncton, Dieppe review, but this one I would have more spaces that I was going to be able to put my tractor in the garage also if it had gone my way. So I think, and I went on the land with Mr. Alexandre Gerard, and when we walked, and even him, he said, I didn't realize that it was that big, a lot, almost 4 acres. I could have put a lot more. There would have been spaces for a few more units, but what I'm proposing is I would have liked to have a garage. The city wanted to have 800 square feet, but I could have had much bigger for everything I said. And where the garage would be, it's not problematic for the neighbors, and it meets the standards, the backyard and the side, and even with 400 square feet, it works very well. I live in Dieppe. I've already had a house with an attached garage, detached garage, an old garage, 1,500 square feet in the past, so I can't see why it would not be approved in this situation. But I want to know your opinion if it could be approved. That's my question. Opinion-wise, I don't know if members of council want to say something, but essentially, generally, we depend on the opinion of our planners, our experts. Tonight, we are having a first and third reading tonight. So if some people intend to get involved from the councillors, I see we will be able to talk with Mr. Frenette to just join us, I believe, virtually. So before I skate too much, I'm skating. Sometimes when I skate, I trip. And the planning advisory committee dealt with it, but I'll ask Mr. Frenette if he has to get involved in the discussion and see if there are any other questions from the councillor. Mr. Frenette, good evening. Good evening, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council. Mr. Savoy, I think it's important to mention, but it was mentioned during the analysis that we did during the PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee. We have to follow our bylaws. When we talk about the size at 1,500 square feet, it represents, if we compare this with a typical house, bungalows that we have with 1,500 square feet. As for the surrounding or the fence, we would have storage. There's a possibility of developing a garage of 800 square feet that would be quite wide, So you can add some truss. You can have some storage on top of the garage also, not only in the garage. We must be consistent in the decision that we make with PAC. As an example, last month we had a question for a garage that was 1,400 square feet. Committee turned it down. So it's a consistency that we have when we have application with the PAC for an accessory building. And just to let you know, as you know, members of council, but Mr. Savoy, the representative on the PAC, on the Planning Advisory Committee, are citizens who represents the citizens, the neighbors, their neighbors, and the neighbors from the city of Dieppe. So it goes against the typical size that we allow, and we feel that with 1,500 square feet, with the kind of developments that you are recommending with more than one lot development where you don't belong a public stop, 1,500 square feet is sufficient for the needs that you are proposing. So I will finish by saying that when we make recommendations, it's based on history, on reference, and we have some references. We had smaller application than this one, and it was turned down. Thank you. Any questions from the councillors at this time? It would seem not. Mr. Savoy, do you have anything to add before we, just one last thing? 1,500 square feet, if you find it's too big, as I said at the last meeting, on the plan, I recommended 800 that was required by the city, and I put a third option that would be 1,500 that would be in the middle. So if you're not ready to accept the 1,500, I'd be happy with 1,150. That's my request. And if it's 800, I'll have to live with it, but I would ask the 15 and then 1150, but I'll live with the 800. I think we understand your message quite well, and we wish you good luck with your development, first of all, and we'll continue the process, and we will see what happens. Thank you very much. Thank you. And my apology for the misunderstanding a few weeks ago. No problem. Thank you very much. Good night. Night. This brings us to item number. There's two other questions from the public, I believe. Mr. Simar will introduce them to us. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen from the council. We have a first question that has to do with the excessive noise. You talked about it earlier. You've answered that question, more or less. The first question I will read is from Mark Arsenault from Avalon Street. He's asking the following: I want to know if the city cleans the ditches. I walk on Acadia Miro every day, and the garbage are very heavy on both sides. The streets will be nicer when they're clean. The answer, Your Worship and Council, yes, it's going to be clean in due time. We are going over the employees. We are on a catch-up with all the work. This is part of the working plan. We were hoping it could be done earlier. It's going to be done very shortly. What is important also is to remind our citizens to take care of our city quite often. During this special period of COVID-19, I walk a lot, and I see a lot of garbage, either in the ditches or close to the lawns. I've walked through the marsh several times. There are garbage and there's things that are there for a long time. They've been there for a long time, but some things are recent. Now we have to ask our citizens to take care of our community. Maybe we have some education to make as far as education, or maybe signage on streets that are very busy, such as Lamiro Street, for instance. I know we had talked about the plan to clean that piece of property on both sides of Lamiro. One first thing was done, and certain trails are very busy, and some dead ends are occupied also. All these factors, yes, Your Worship. My message to the citizens: our citizens must do their share, and we encourage them to do so. Maybe from our communication service to continue to ask the people to pick up the garbage that are the results of their favorite, some 4 feet animals. Second one, a question from Annie Béliveau from Alsan Street. She's asking, is it possible to ask a certain commercial business that I won't mention not to park on the side of Tranquil Street? It's parked on the side of the street when the work day is over. It's very dangerous. I contacted Angel Spencer, who's the engineer, to give an answer. Mrs. Spencer, good evening. Once again, good evening. Your Worship, first of all, the city makes no difference between commercial vehicle and other vehicles. So when it's allowed, we don't make any differences. Tranquil Street is local, and on no street do we prohibit parking in a curve. We will look to see if the speed sign would be required at that place. Maybe you've seen these small orange signs that will say it's 40 kilometers an hour or 50, just to sensitize the people to slow down in the curve. You know, there are those kinds of signs. Thank you for the answer. I hope that Mrs. Annie Béliveau, it will be an answer that will help her to improve the situation. If not, I'm convinced that we will hear from her again. Thank you for the questions. In an effort, since there are so many things that are done virtually, but now and for the future, we encourage the people who want to ask questions concerning the municipality to send them to the city, and in meetings like tonight, we will be able to answer your question. Thank you very much. That brings us to the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting of May the 11th. We have a motion moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Alsano, that we adopt the minutes for the meeting of May the 11th. Any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried. The minutes of the regular meeting of May the 11th is carried. We also have the special council meeting that was held on May the 19th. Is there someone to move the adoption? Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. There again. The minute of that special meeting is carried. That brings us to the different motions and memorandum for nominations, different services. 10.11 for the engineering, Mr. Counsel. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of Council. First file, we think about the year 2021. Here you have before you for the Crandall Service Division of Angle Cord for Engineering Service for a project of 2021 on Charlersville Road between Gorvet and Lorette Street. Is to replace aquatic and asphalt. It's a service to prepare the plan of $60,000, and that will allow us to go earlier when the budget will be approved. Thank you. The service engineering. Is someone to read the resolution, Mr. Blah. Thank you, Your Worship. Council advised Crandall Division of Unglobe Corporation undertake the engineering aiming the project entitled Replacement of Aquatic and Asphalt Charlersville from Gorvet to Lorette at the cost of plus HSD. Authorized that expense be taken from account 3-3-3558 6 general the asphalt and the number 4-94 7601 the water and sewage and asphalt ISO moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. The question, all those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded nay. Carried as presented. That brings us 10.23 for phase 2 concerning parking. So in preparing the budget for 2021 is to make the design of phase 2, and it's within the plan deposited for the downtown phase 2. This is for a project that will include east, west, and parts of we hope to complete the development of our downtown to make it more, safer. This will allow us to go in, call for tender earlier and experience service for $105,000, and we also have a transfer to complete this work. For the reading of the resolution, Mrs. Laboutier. Thank you, Worship. The Council authorized Experts Service Inc. to undertake the work of engineering aiming the budget Centerville Gova Phase 2 with parking at the cost of $105 plus HST, and authorize that this be taken on the account 3-3-3558 6545 general contract. That the Council authorized furthermore a budgetary of a sum of $85,000 in account 3-3-3558 676 the general budget on Berkeley Road on account 3-3-3558 7645 the general development plan in Gova ISO moved by Councillor Laboutier, by Councillor Godet. On the question. The question, yes. Mr. Laboutier, sorry. It's a question of information, if I may. For the parking, let's say we have a developer who arrives and he has a different building that would change the parking. Are we anticipating something? What are we going to do? So the place has been predetermined with what was presented phase 2. The building is where the buildings of New-Brunswick are, and the 6 Gova we are discussing with the province for the transfer of these properties and to relocate these people. So that's mostly where it will take form. It's leave us some flexibility after phase 2 to amend the kind of building. We have enough space to really plan long term. Any other questions from the members of council? If not, If not, all those in favor, resolution say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried. This brings us to 10.1.3, Melanson Road. This year, as you know, we are replacing the culvert and make a trail that will go to the playground, a development that is being done parallel on the western side, no, on the south of Melanson. Here we have phase 2, that is to bring the services, the water and sewage, and the reconstruction of Melanson Road down to the limit of the municipality, and the construction of the trail that will John Rouse Street. It's for the engineering with Crendel division in Group Court to have the plan and design at the cost of $55,000 for approval, and to prepare us to call for tender as soon as possible in 2021 also. The reading of the resolution, Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorized Crendel, a division of Englobe Corp, to undertake engineering services for the 2020 Melanson Road Reconstruction Race 2 project at the cost of $55,000 plus HST, and further authorize the expenditure be defrayed from accounts number 3-3-35-58-7650 general budget, capital budget Melanson project, and number 4-3-90-7650 water and sewer capital budget Melanson project. I so move. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. On the question. No question. All those in favor, please say aye. Contrary-minded, say no. Carried. This brings us to 10.4 and the within our active to put our assets in order. This is a project that require WSP Canada Incorporated at a cost of $100,000 for the reconstruction of Acadie Street. It's located between Thibodeau Street and Chapla Street. So it's a project, a major one, and it's to have the service of these people for the construction in 2021. For the reading of this proposal, Mr. Alla. Thank you, Your Worship. Council authorized WSP Canada Incorporated undertake the engineering service aiming the project entitled reconstruction of Acadie Avenue, the cost of $100,000 plus HST, and authorize that this money be taken from account 3-3-35-58-7651 capital budget, general capital budget, Acadia Avenue water conduct, and number 4-3-90-58-7651 capital budget water and storage, Acadia Avenue water. Moved by Councillor Alla, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. Nobody says anything, and then all of a sudden all the hands go up. On the question. No question? All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Mr. Cadet, have a question? Thank you, Your Worship. This project, there's still a part of Acadia that goes at the end of the road. That part, is it okay? Is it in good condition? Yes. It was redone 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Spencer, can you help me? Going towards the limit of Highway 15. Yes, I'm not sure, but about 5-6 years ago. Yes, thank you. Any other question? If not, all those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried now. 10.1.5. Mr. Mnaso. So the Council authorized, because one of the projects for 2020 was the reconstruction of Arsenault Road within the limit of the municipality. The province is confirming that they are ready to contribute an amount of money to continue the part of the city up to Champlain that belongs to the province, so it's within the LSD of Lakeburn. So here we have a confirmation on that. We want to have an addition to the contract with Dexter Construction Limited at the cost of $250,000 additional dollars, and the engineering of $30,000 with WSP Canada. That is all payable by the province. This will be reimbursed by the province of New Brunswick. Thank you for the reading of that resolution, Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That the Council authorize an addition to the work of construction aiming the project entitled Construction of Arsenal Road with Dexter Construction Company Limited at a cost of $250,000 plus HST, as well as an addition at the market with the engineering with WSP Canada Inc. at the cost of $30,000 plus HST. Authorizing these expenses be taken from account 3-3-35-58-7655 general capital budget. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Leboutillier. On the question. Sorry, on the question, Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. Did we ever have an estimate from Dexter Construction for that part at $250,000? They have an agreement with the contractor that they will maintain the same term and conditions. So the contract is accepted, yes. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. The resolution is confirmed. 10.2 appointments. 10.2.1 Planning Advisory Committee. Your Worship, yes, there's been a resignation. We had to replace a member on the PAC, on the planning, Mr. Raymond Landry. So it's for an approval, a term that will end on 31st of December 2021. Thank you, Worship. Mr. Snow. Thank you, Worship. That Council appoint Raymond Landry on the Planning Advisory Committee for a term ending on December 31st, 2021 to replace Bertha Haché. I so move. Moved by Mr. Snow, seconded by Councillor Godet. On the question. The question, all those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, carried as presented. Now, 10.2.2, Economic Development, 3+ Economic Development Corporation nomination. Ms. Sarsner, if you would read. Keep on reading. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council appoint Bertha Haché on the Board of Directors of the 3+ Economic Development Corporation for a term ending June the 9th, 2022. I so move. Moved by Mr. Snow, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. That brings us to 10.3. Operation 10.3.1. Signing authority lease agreement with sports shop concerning Uniblacks. We were in request of proposal until May the 24th, 2019, and we received one bidder. We worked on an agreement that was negotiated that companies airing size sports from Rossi, New-Brunswick, but they operate boutique in Bouctouche, Richer-Bouctouche, Quispamsis, and on Prince Edward Island. So if you agree, there will be in Dieppe the duration for 5 years and an option of renewal. Agreed by the two parts. That company has an insurance, liability insurance. They will rent 400 square feet in Uniflex place, and there will be office to rent if need be. They will probably have one rented, there'll be one left. That operation will ensure the sharpening of skates and tape and sticks. They'll have the exclusivity for the sold of sports items, but they won't have exclusivity as for the sale of clothing for sports, the sports that will be practiced, that will be played in our complex. So it will be contact with the group, make sure that they offer product that can be used by them, and to have a dialogue between the groups to meet the needs. So the rental cost starts at $12 square feet, which is at $13 in the last 3 years of the agreement. And we also have administrative costs for the cost from Wi-Fi, electricity, and whatnot. It's recommended by our staff to proceed with the signing of that agreement and to offer a service in our Uniplex complex. For the reading of the resolution, please. Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council approve the lease agreement between the City of Dieppe and Ringside Sports regarding the use of space for a sports shop at Uniplex for a 5-year period from the date of its opening in the fall of 2020. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. On the question, Mrs. Arsenault. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a clarification, when I look at the rental fee plus tax on page 96, two sections seems to be exactly the same. 2020 to 2021 on the first line, and then on the bottom diagram, 2020 to 2021, the same amount. Is it repeated or what? Just a clarification. Mr. Burke, are you there? Mr. Burke? Yes, I am there. I'm looking for page 96. It seems to be a repetition. It seems to be double, or a duplicate. I know we revised the agreement several times, but there seems to be a line that is repeated. We'll check it out and we'll make the correction accordingly to respect the resolution. Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Cormier? Your Worship, simply, I know there was not a lineup to offer services, but do we have a way of making sure that there will be a minimum francophone service with that company? Or are we simply at the mercy of that company? One of the elements that business must respect is our language policy. They'll offer service in both languages. That's an element that will make sure that will be reflected. Thank you. Mr. Brideau, Your Worship. I will ask the question, Mr. Melanson. You mentioned that in the agreement they had the exclusivity of sports items that will be sold on location. My question is, if a team, in the next 5 years, for instance, if there was a team who would have their own store where they would sell items, would that be a problem? Well, I guess you're talking if they have souvenirs from the team or sweaters or shirts, you know. But other items, if we have the Wildcat, for instance, and we know what happened, but it's a souvenir, a boot, or we'll have a discussion with this company, with this tenant, to, because the agreement does not allow to have another souvenir boutique. Should there be, for instance, the Aigle Bleu team, they've always had their store and location. Could that be a problem? We will have to have a discussion with the tenant of this space or any new team that would come in. Thank you, Mr. Ada. Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Legier, my question goes together with Mr. Colmy as to the conformity of our linguistic policy and the hours. I think that Bob Johnson, who has a jail arena, is always there and he follows the hours. Who from the city will make sure that it's the conformity at like 7.7 on the hours, but also the language? Who from the city? What organization from our municipal government takes care of it? We have someone. The operation go to the recreation activities. We have other staff who work on location. We're in contact with our users. We're in contact with our youth group. All of that is part and parcel of everything to make sure that services are adequate. I know that Panel and in Richibouctou, some hours, I don't think the hours are respected. I would like to see in our arena that the hours will be respected. It was strongly discussed, and the tenant in the other complex respect the hours. Will make sure that the same happens here. Thank you. Thank you. For the resolution, all those in favor, say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. Thank you. That brings us to (10.3.2). Sorry, 10.3.2. Call for tenders. We are replacing a small complex with a large complex, and we want to see it completed. The procedure is going very well, as it will read. We must declare an asset for the demolition of Centennial Arena. Then we can have a public tender call to receive prices and come back to the council to authorize a contract. So we will also make sure that our complex is completed. I'm talking about the construction, the opening in the fall. This is part of the mechanism that exists. Thank you for the reading. The resolution, Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council identified the Centennial Arena as a surplus asset and authorized the building sector to call the public tenders in regards to the arena demolition. I move by and seconded on the question. Mr. Snow. Thank you, Your Worship. Uniplex should be completed on time. We plan that it will be on time. For Centennial Arena, once the tender is called, how much time will it take before the demolition is completed? Following the tender, the call for tender, Mr. Burke maybe has a deadline. Will take 2 or 3 months at least before it's completed. Mr. Burke, where are you? Ideally, it would be done before the winter, so we have Crandall, who will prepare the tender, call for tender, and ideally it should be done before the winter. Thank you. Other question? Mr. Boutier. Your Worship, question of clarification that was explained. People in the publication should know that we touch with the cost of the infrastructure. Even if it would cost more to keep Centennial than to build a new one. That's what I wish you would confirm to the citizens. Yes, we had an evaluation done internally to put this in an arena at today's code limit. It would be a higher cost than to demolish it and build a new one. So it's following all this information that was presented. That's why we're here tonight to discuss the demolition. We had question as to could it be repaired to meet certain needs, for instance, inside activities, for instance. Well, that's it. The structure, the building code, and when we start renovating something, is the surprises that show up all the time. The recommendation was to demolish it and put the land back in the state, not the natural state, but the state where it could be developed for a more future, to use it for community and downtown activities. Thank you. Other questions? None? All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded? Carried as presented. Now we go to 10.4. Planning and Development 10.4.1. The PAC recommendation, tentative plan on Ville subdivision. It's recommended that you accept the recommendation from PAC, the Ville subdivision, an extension of Republic, the name of the streets. What is recommended, the council accept the name Pierre for the street. It is also recommended that council accept a combination of 1.7% of the area and the amount of money that is equivalent of $27,585 as land for public purpose. That's the recommendation of the PAC for acceptance. Mr. Snow, if you would read it, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee relating to the acceptance of the Ville subdivision tentative plan, which provides for the expansion of Pierre Street and the location of land for public purposes. The council further accept the combination of 1.7% of the subdivision's area and the amount of $27,585 for land for public purpose. I so move. Moved by Mr. Snow, seconded by Councilor Leblanc. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. This brings us to 10.4.2. A PAC recommendation, a rezoning application, the recommendation of the committee. It's an amendment to zoning Z10 that delete 2, 96, 8 and 4832, and the termination of 3 covenant agreements that they will have in front. The owner is Park Bridge Lifestyle Community Incorporated, and to accept the recommendation of the PAC and the modalities that are mentioned in the resolution, and to make first and second reading tonight. This is for the approval by the council. For the reading of the resolution, please. Mr. Thibodeau, please. When it's long, there's less hands that go up. Thank you, Your Worship. That council accept the recommendation made on May the 20th, 2020 by the Planning Advisory Committee concerning an amendment for the zoning bylaw as outlined in bylaw Z-10 2017-9. Council accept the recommendation made on May the 20th, 2020 by the Planning Advisory Committee concerning the repeal of zoning bylaw 96-48-8 and 96-48-32, and the termination of all the 3 covenants between the City of Dieppe and Perfection Inc. as of the date of November the 15th, put under number 641624, dated November the 1959, and put under the number 1067 and dated December 20th, 2002, and filed in the registry office as number 157-13630. That the zoning of the property identified under PID 70529656 remain residential mini home zone, RMM, as shown on the zoning map attached as Schedule A. The City of Dieppe zoning bylaw Z-10, bracket 2017. That Council further accept that the said application be subject to Section 39 of the Community Planning Act and the following conditions: that the mini house park be considered as a private development, and that the owner be responsible to install and maintain all infrastructure services, including but without limiting the private street water and sanitary sewage infrastructure, street lamp, garbage, the water and sewage service must be constructed, connected, and the City of Dieppe, the property must be developed in general conformity with the site plan dated March 2020 and attached as Schedule A in the memorandum dated May 28, 2020. D. All private streets of the mini home park must be paved. E. All existing entrances to the mini home park from a public street must remain in place in perpetuity without obstruction. F. A neighborhood sign must be installed in all entrances to the mini house park. And G. The developer must comply with all regulations, order, and regulation made by the City of Dieppe, provincial or federal authority that applies to said property at his own expenses, and obtain all necessary approvals, permits, and authorization. That Council proceed with first and second readings of Bylaw Z-10, bracket 2017-9. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Arsenault on the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. 10.4.3, Mr. Manasso. We receive a change on the property located at the owner is Habitat for Humanity for the Moncton area and our region. So the PAC recommend to accept the amendment and to proceed with the first and second reading of Bylaw Z-10 tonight. Mr. Godet, please, for the reading of the resolution. Your Worship, that Council accept the recommendation made on May the 20th, 2020 by the Planning Advisory Committee concerning an amendment to the zoning map, zoning bylaw, as outlined in Bylaw Z-10, bracket 2017-10, relating to the land identified under PID 7056-1899 in order to accommodate the development of a single unit dwelling. The Council proceed with first and second reading of Bylaw Z-10, bracket 2017-10. I so move. Moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Leblanc on the question. No question on those. Oh, question, Mr. Boutier. It's a clarification question, if I may. So, no citizen. It's a zoning, it's a change to zoning, so no citizens objected, or I can answer the councillor. Yes, we always send letters within an area of 100 meters. We invite the people to attend the public hearing. As you know, we've had the public hearing for that project. That is when the citizens are invited to either comment by writing or to be present at the meeting, such as this one. So we had no objection at that time, and over and above that, the people call us. Sometimes the people don't necessarily want to attend the meeting or send letters, but they want to know more about the project. So it's a service that we also offer. Sometimes we receive calls to have more information on the projects, and we can answer them directly from the office. In this case, there was none. No. My other question, that's a corner which is well maintained, and there's a certain site, and as it says in the report, the proposal of the style of must go with the area. It's not a parcel of land that is in the middle of a street. Here we talk about really the entrance of Jacques Street. I just wanted to confirm that we have validated the kind of structure and it will meet the environment. Yes, as you know, it's an invitation to receive people, low-income people. It's Habitat for Humanity that is well known, is the owner of the property, and by talking to the ladies in question, I think the administrator knows they have very strict criteria that the people must adhere to, and they can't necessarily depend on the property or to let things be neglected. And if the house have a ramp with a wheelchair, it's right on the side. It's a house that was built by Habitat for Humanity, that was built several years ago. It's the same kind of house that we will have. It's a second house built by Habitat for Humanity with conditions that will have to be respected. It's probably the third project that we have with Habitat for Humanity. The first one was on was it? No, it was Gouverneur Street, on Gouverneur Street, close to Thomas. There are very strict rules within Habitat for Humanity that people have to put a minimum number of hours of work or something similar to that. Thank you for the explanation, clarification. Thank you, Mr. Fournette. Any further question on that project? All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. That brings us to 10.4.4, PAC recommendation, rezoning application again. It's a rezoning application for number Z10 on Margaret Street and bearing PID 7017955 Enterprise Incorporated is the owner. The recommendation of PAC is also an accompanying of certain modalities. There are 6 of them. So it's recommended to proceed with the adoption and also to proceed with first and second reading of that. For the reading of the resolution, Mr. Cormier. Your Worship, that Council accept the recommendation made on April 15, 2020 by the Planning Advisory Committee concerning an amendment to the zoning map zoning bylaw as outlined in bylaw Z-10 bracket 2017-11 relating to the land identified under PID 7021795 in order to accommodate a row house project. That Council further accept that the said application be subject to Section 59 of the Community Planning Act on the following condition: A, notwithstanding paragraph 5.3-1 parentheses E of zoning bylaws Z-10 bracket 2017 residential care facility and multiple dwelling uses are not permitted, and notwithstanding section 3.11 paragraph 5.3 bracket 2 bracket B bracket 1 bracket A of zoning bylaws Z-10 bracket 2017, the development of a maximum 15-row house and the landscaping of lot 20-1000 will be completed in general conformity with the conceptual plan dated May 7, 2020 and attached to Schedule A to the memorandum dated May 28, 2020. See that any part of the main building facade facing and access to road parking on lot 20-1000 must be finished with 100% of specific materials. The garbage storage area must be developed on lot 20-1000 pursuant to section 345 of zoning bylaws Z-10 2017. The owner is responsible for managing and collecting garbage on the proposed lot 20-1000. E. The facade of the row houses on lot 20-9 must be facing court A, as shown on the conceptual plan dated May 7, 2020, and attached as Schedule A to the memorandum dated May 28, 2020. F. Unless otherwise specified in the condition identified above, all other provisions of the current zoning bylaw are applicable, and that council proceeds with first and second reading of bylaw Z-10 bracket 2017-11. And I so move. Thank you. Moved by Councillor, seconded by Councillor Arsenault on the question. No question. Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. In fact, I have two questions, if I may. The first one is, we talk about a development of 15 row houses. Didn't the presentation say 11, if I'm not mistaken? Mr. Fernet, are you here? No? By memory, Alexandre, maybe you can check it out, but the request, the application was 15 units in 4 or 5 buildings. I don't have the number of buildings, but it was 15 units. Yes, okay. Second part of the question, we said, and there was no traffic study needed for the development as a whole, for the whole. Something that bothers me a little bit is if we say we don't need a study for the traffic, well, if we look at the project as a whole, what was it, 60 units approximately as a whole? 70, okay, 56. Oh, 56, I see. Well, the developer doesn't have access to the street, Herman Street. It shows that there could be an exit, but it's a private property, and the developer doesn't have access to it immediately. We're sure if we don't have any traffic problem, if we don't have any exit on Herman Street. I can answer your question, Mr. LeBlanc. The last time you asked a question, we had already asked a question to the engineering service, and it was said that a study was not needed because there was one in more than once in that sector, and it's at the intersection Fox Creek, Amiro, and not the street that we have presently. Following the public hearing and the question that you asked, we ask again the engineering section, and as we say, it's a study that costs $10,000 to be told that in spite of everything, there is a calculation in the last study that we had. It included a number greater than what we have presently. So it was validated once again by the engineering service. So it's not necessary to ask another study because they knew what the answer would be. Then we can accommodate 56, yes, additional unit on the corner, yes. Does that answer your question? Any other question from the councillors? No? All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. That brings us to, 11, sorry. With the first bylaw, 11.1 bylaw Z-10 2017-8, amending the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. Reading in its entirety, Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw Z-10 2017-8 bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw by the Council of the City of Dieppe under the authority vested in the community enacts as follows. The City of Dieppe zoning bylaw, being bylaw Z-10 2017, enacted on the 11th day of September 2017 and filed in the Westmoreland County number 3758783 on November 3rd, 2017 as follows. Schedule A, entitled City of Dieppe zoning map, wherever it's mentioned in the text of the zoning bylaw is amended by the map, here to attach a Schedule A.8. I move its adoption, the reading entirely moved and seconded on the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. So carried. Bylaw 10 Z10 2017-8 is accepted. By reading in its entirety, we'll proceed now with the third reading by title only. Mr. Leblanc, please. Bylaw number Z-10 2017-8, bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move it the third reading. Third and last reading. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Brideau. Mr. Brideau, thank you. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Reminded, carried. So 10-8 is accepted by third reading as presented. We'll proceed with item bylaw 10/2020 concerning the reduction of plastic bag in the City of Dieppe. Mr. Brideau, please. You want the privilege? Go ahead. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw A-13, 2020 bylaw respecting the reduction of single-use plastic bag in the City of Dieppe. Do I read the whole thing? Yes. Pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, SNB 2017, Chapter 18, the Dieppe Council enacts as follows. The section of Bylaw A-13 2020 remain unchanged as those set in Bylaw A-13 adopted on June 24, 2019, except for the Section 8, which is amended as follows. Section A, commencement is amended by deleting July the 1st, 2020 and replacing it with October the 1st, 2020. That's all move. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Godet on the question. No question. Those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, carried as presented. We'll now proceed with the third reading by title only. Mr. Brideau. Usually by law. Respecting the reduction of single-use plastic bags in the City of Dieppe, I move a third reading. Third reading with Councillor Brideau. Seconded by Councillor Gunnett on the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. So carried. And third and final reading. That brings us to Z10 2017-9 to amend the city of Dieppe. First, following second reading, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number Z-10, 2017-9, a bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move it in first reading, title only. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. We'll proceed with the second reading, please. Mr. Thibodeau. Your Worship, bylaw number Z-10, bracket 2017-9. Bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move it in second reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question. Second reading. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. And we proceed with 11.4. Bylaw Z10 2017-10, amending the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. Again, for that item, by title only for the first and second reading. Ms. Sarsno. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number Z-10, 2017-10, bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move in first reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Ada. Do we accept the change in bylaw Z10 2017-10 in first reading by title only? On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried in first reading. And we'll proceed with the second reading. Once again, title only. Ms. Sarsno. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number Z10 2017-10. A bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. Second reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Ms. Sarsno, seconded by Mr. Ada. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried in second reading by title only. That brings us to item 11.5. Bylaw Z10 2017-11, amending the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw for the first and second reading, one after the other. Mr. LeBlanc, please. Your Worship, bylaw number Z-10 2017-11, bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move for first reading. Moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried. In first reading, we'll proceed, Mr. LeBlanc, with the second reading by title only. Once again. Bylaw number Z10 2017-11, bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I move in second reading by title. Thank you. Move once again by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. Item 11.6, bylaw A-15, respecting 5 handout distribution, or free handout distribution for the reading of this item. They're all shy? What? Nobody wants to read. Mr. Ayla, please. Thank you, Your Worship. By law A-15, by law respecting free handout distribution in the city of Dieppe, I move first reading. Move it first reading. A-15, the distribution of free handout distribution. Move and seconded. On the question. Mr. Thibodeau, the question. Thank you, Your Worship. Clarification question. We said that the people who don't want to have these documents will have to make the request. If they don't receive them immediately, do they have to make another request not to receive them? Does the bylaw forces us to ask a second time? Different from Moncton, or in Moncton, they said to the people, put a sticker printed a certain way in front of your house if you don't want to receive documents. When we saw that, we said, well, I think with winter, with the snow removal, with the weather and the snowstorm, it will be a problem to take photographs and tell the people and whatnot. So Brunswick use the blue bags that we know. It deals with all the distributors. What we said instead, there is a system where Brunswick News tell us if you don't want to receive it, just contact us. We'll put you on a list on which you will not receive the documents. From that, what we said is fine. We will force the people to use that document. We will provide a model. There is a model in our file. And we'll use that model and they'll send it to Brunswick News. In that case, they send it to the distributor and we have a copy also at the office. For the proof, it's going to be very easy. We will already have a document in our office that says Brunswick News is telling us that forthwith, from now on, I don't want to receive it. It's difficult to inscribe. Subscription is quite easy, in my opinion. But someone who would want to be added would only have to call Brunswick News. It was settled. But the problem is when we have complaint at the city to which there is a bag or documents like this that are distributed in driveway. That's the problem. If you read the section on prohibition, it is prohibited to put the bags other than these places. If it's put in a mailbox or elsewhere, if it's put on the lawn or on the patio, there's no problem unless we were registered where a person unscribed. But to put it there, then it becomes illegal. At that time, the people can complain. What we'll do from now on is people who will complain first time, we will make a friendly reminder to Brunswick News. If not, we'll be able to issue a fine of $500 to make sure that it would have an effect. This is the way that we found to facilitate the evidence, and whatever the season is, it's going to be relatively easy to act in a relatively easy way. We expect a certain number of people who will unscribe, but it will be controlled. We'll have some kinds of control. I like the way it's drafted, the way it's written. All the angles are covered. It was the question that I wondered, will I have to fill that form? But not to receive it. As long as you don't receive it because you unscribe by phone. Well, when it starts coming in again, I would say yes. Someone complaints and did not use the notice, then we'll say tell them to use the notice, send it, a copy to the city, and the next time we will act. Thank you. Question was, is there a grandfather clause? It would be difficult. We don't know who is already unscribed. Thank you. Question, Mr. Boutier? Thank you. It was answered. My question had to do with the traceability of the evidence. Thank you. No other question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary reminded nay. Carried. First reading. No. Second reading. A-15 by law respecting free handout distribution of the City of Dieppe. Second reading. Thank you. For the second reading, moved by Councillor Haddad, seconded by Mr. Boutier. So, on the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Carried. Second reading by title only concerning A15, the free handout distribution. Item 11.7, bylaw C30, authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of Gauvin Road. For the reading, first reading by title only, Ms. Arsenault. Thank you, Worship. Bylaw number C-30, bylaw authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of Gauvin Road. I so move first reading. Move bylaw C-30 authorizing the City of Dieppe permanently close a portion of Gauvin Road. Moved by Ms. Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Carried. We'll proceed with the second reading, once again by title only. For bylaw C-30, thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number C-30, bylaw authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of Gauvin Road. I so move second reading. Once again, moved by second reading by Ms. Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. So again, no question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, carried. C-30 is adopted in first and second reading. We'll proceed now with item 11.8, bylaw C-31, authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close portion of Marché Street. For the first reading, by title only, Mr. Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number C-31, the bylaw authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close portion of Marché Street. I move in first reading. First reading by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. No question? All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Carried. First reading. Now, bylaw of second reading on C-31 authorizing the city to permanently close portion of Marché Street. Mr. Godet. Bylaw number C-31, bylaw authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close portion of Marché Street. I so move in second reading. Move in second reading by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. No question? All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. So carried. C-31 is adopted in second reading. Now we will proceed. 12. Notice of motion. None. So inquiries and announcement by members of council so awaited for by each one. With the group, I don't know where to start right now. We'll start with Mr. Ayla. I think that's where we were. So we'll go around the clock. Thank you, Your Worship. There was not much sport, but I'll talk about it now. I have a question for the treasurer or the administrator. First of all, there was a virtual gala for sports at Majumata. The recruitment Alexi Bera, recruit of the year, who played racket, hockey, and soccer. Michael Dozier also. Recruit of the year for men, excellence in academy, Max Prideaux and Mr. Miller. And the athlete of the year, feminine, Alex Boudreau and Catherine Theriot. And my neighbor, Young, who attends Minnesota University, Christine Morneau. I congratulate them all for their achievement for the sports at Mayumata. And also our congratulations for the recruitment. Samuel Savoie was picked fourth, and later on another one from here, Alexis Dania. Congratulations to Alexis. My question for the administrator, the monthly report, we talk about reserve of general operation. I read a lot on the weekends. It was question. Was there a question? It's only $232 for COVID, but an increase of $400 for the snow removal. I did not understand the $400,000 for snow removal. Explain that one to me. We've had a winter that was not. I remember that maybe we purchased some salt in March, but. Yes, Your Worship, if I remember, it's some time ago, it was the purchase of salt that was slightly higher than the snow removal or the hauling of snow, but the quantities of salt that was the main item in 2020. Could you send me an email on that? Yes. Okay, thank you. Ms. Leboutier. Thank you, Your Worship. I have 2 points I'd like to raise. Has to do with garbage. We had the big garbage. We received quite a few complaints compared to last year. Was there a lot of changes this year with previous years from the citizens? Mr. Burke is also connected. He can add to my answer, but we work with our two, with Moncton and Riverview and Dieppe to have a similar approach, to have a conscience in the region, and we continued with the 360 meeting as to the product, the material that could be collected and put a place in their site. It's important because sometimes some products are hazardous, dangerous on the other products. We would like to know what were the criteria by 360. The element that was questioned the most were the products, the wooden products, so section of deck, of demolition products, whether it's storage or whatever it may be. These were not accepted at the Depot 360 location. That's the element that was the most questioned, and the follow-up that was done with the staff. Mr. Burke, I don't know if there was something else that was received from your team, but that's what we were questioned the most. Mr. Burke, I would add that our bylaw also, there was several follow-up done by our bylaw application officers, observation officers, so a lot more material were not collected. So to have a certain consistency, it was to apply our bylaw as it is defined. So that was pretty well the element. Not necessarily a change, but it was more consistent this time than previous years. So it was not new. It was always that we were picking it up, but and also the cooperation and the criteria of the discussion we had with 360. The people were informed either by pamphlets delivered at the door or contact with the people, telling them what the bylaw stipulated on the subject. And how do we notify our citizens of that change? We have pamphlets that were distributed, some information on the website, and we mention it here also within a public meeting and on social media. These are the means that we use, and every year we share with the citizens. It's not easy to share with 9,000 businesses, but to go door to door is impossible. So these are the means that we use. There's one other point I'd like to raise. I just came in. I'll send it back again. There seemed to be a challenge on the Belfort and Dieppe Boulevard. There was a new apartment block that was built at the intersection of Carrefour Giratoire. A lot of people park at the entrance when you enter La Belle-Forêt. Some people park right there. So it seems to be quite dangerous. I wish you would look at that. We will tell the RCMP because it's their responsibility. I will inform them. Thank you. That's all for me. Ms. Arsenault? Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with the fact the administrator was talking about wood. How ECO 360 have to stipulate the kind of wood that is collected, because when there's a conservation product in it, that's why some residents didn't seem to know the difference. I received some difference. I'm glad the administrator clarified it. Thank you. One other thing I want to mention, the patching has started on the streets. It's nice to see that there was some on Amiro Street and on Champlain Street. Thank you very much. And COVID-19, please follow the recommendation from health and take care of yourself. Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to add tonight. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc. Nothing new to add tonight, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Brideau. Your Worship. Well, simply, I would like to congratulate our future graduate from Madjo Martin. A virtual graduation. It will be different for our young people. Nevertheless, it's a graduation that is bona fide, and I congratulate them, and I want to congratulate the people of Dieppe during this whole pandemic period. That was not easy for the people. It was stressing for quite a few people. I want to congratulate everybody because, generally speaking, Dieppe is doing well. Well, in my ward, I have nothing to complain about. People make the distanciation. We talk, but we yell from each side of the street. It's going well. We continue. It's not over. It's only the beginning with the pandemic. So, good night, everybody. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. I join my voice with that of Mr. Brideau to congratulate the graduate from our high school and a graduate from the NBCC, and wish good luck to all these young in their future project. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Gadet. Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to raise an idea that maybe could go somewhere within the administration. It has to do with bicycle trail. In all the installation we have in Dieppe, we have signs, whether it's rules, behavior, how people should use these services or these installation. But for a bicycle trail, there doesn't seem to be any way at this time to issue some signs for people who use these trails. Some people go in bicycles, they have no horn, they'll go by a person at high speed without that person being aware that someone is coming up behind them. Others drive on the left, on others on the right. There doesn't seem to be ways or means of developing politeness sign. I would like to know if there's any possibility of seeing at the entrance of a trail some signs, like we have speed signs in park about COVID. If you use bicycle trail, here are the rules that you should follow. It does not exist at the present time, and I find it would be a good thing. I receive complaints, not often, but I receive complaints from people who were scared of. They're walking quietly, and all of a sudden a bicycle comes behind them without any signals, without any warning, and they go at 28, 30 kilometers. It's a suggestion that I would like to support to see if something could be done. Thank you. Thank you. On that, similarly, I want to thank all our citizens for the efforts that is being made in everything to do with COVID-19. I would like to congratulate also the people who took the time to express themselves concerning the Black Lives Matter, the whole discussion. It's a discussion that is a social issue that is not easy sometimes. It's hard to be told that we act in a racist manner with old habits that we may have, and old belief, if I can use that word. We live in an environment where we need immigrants especially, and we are blessed to have people who are willing to come and live the New Brunswick experience here, whether it's international students, refugees, or anyone else who are interested to come here in Dieppe and in New Brunswick. In general, we have a responsibility to receive them well, to make them feel at home. We know that we still have difficulties with new arrival to find apartments. If they have children, it's something that we must help them with. It's illegal to refuse people because they have children, but obviously there's all kind of ways to do it. Nevertheless, it's things to fight. We have a responsibility in that sense, and I think it's important to do it. So, as all my colleagues, I want to congratulate all the youngsters who, in principle, have graduated but will celebrate their graduation, whether it be in Mathieu Martin. You will hear about me in the next few weeks, and also the young people from NBCC or University of Moncton. That being said, good evening, everyone. A pleasure to see you around the table, and we don't need to spend money with plexiglass to work together. Thank you. Good evening.